and you got to move on, but our thoughts go out to her. Hopefully it's not as serious as they are fearing it is. Here is your meet format. 6 gymnasts compete on each event. 5 scores count. Top 5 scores for each team will count. That means you can drop the low score. If you have a mistake, you don't have to count it towards your team score. But at a meet like this feels like, Allie, you count one mistake, you're done.
Yeah, you know, mistakes are contagious, especially coming off of watching something like what happened to Chase. It's devastating. These gymnasts have become so close, so it definitely rattles the team. But if anybody can get them back on track and get their confidence up, it's KJ right here.
KJ Johnson, she is such a great starter on this event. Almost always sticks this vault, Allie. This will be a big moment for them if she can do it here.
Stuck this yesterday in practice. Gorgeous. This is actually the only routine you're going to see that's not out of a 10.0. It's out of a 9.95. Curious to see what the judges are going to do, because that was fantastic. The amplitude off the table, it's exactly what the judges want to see.
I've said this all year. That vault, though not a 10.0 start value, is, in my opinion, the best, or amongst maybe 2 or 3 of the best Yurchenko fulls you will see in all of college gymnastics. Every time she sticks it, in my opinion, it should be a 9.95. Doesn't usually get it, but that nonetheless, that'll be a great start for them. Now, Danny Sievers, senior, she starts off with Oklahoma and Bar's been battling injuries this year. She's finally back in the lineup.
Coach Kindler speaks so highly of Danny, said she's the hardest worker on the team, lights a fire for everyone. Judges are looking for handstands right on the top of the bar. Right here, they only allow for a 10-degree window, no issues there, and Danny's really good at sticking her dismounts. That is what it's going to come down to, those small, minor errors, and that is a fantastic start for both teams.
Get used to what you've just seen from these teams in these first routines. Crisp and stuck landings.
And that is textbook, right on the top of the bar. And then this dismount, watch her leg position. Judges are looking for toes and knees glued together, and then her feet come apart, which is normal. You want that for a safe landing.
So great start for the Sooners as well. 9.875 for KJ Johnson's vault. They got it wrong. I'm just going to tell you that vault score should be higher, but here's Aaliyah Finnegan, the first 10.0 vault of this rotation.
An extra half twist from what we just saw. And what was so good about that is I saw Aaliyah the last half. She took her time to open up, took a step forward. I think the judges might take about a 10th off from that, but I think they'll take that.
Both of these teams on their respective events in this first rotation rank #1 in the country. Oklahoma #1 on bars, LSU #1 on vault. Immovable object meets unstoppable force here in this first rotation, and this is what you love when you're talking about big-time matchups. Here's Addison Feta. She is a superstar freshman for the Sooners, following Sievers 9.85.
Yeah, this freshman class for Oklahoma is so impressive, and that pack salto from the high bar to low bar was so high floated. Oklahoma's freshman class makes up about 40% of the routines this year. This double layout is so precise, just that half a 10th hop on that dismount. I think this competition is gonna come down to those little tiny details.
Look how high this is.
This was the amplitude, how high she gets. She has so much time to keep her elbows straight and watch that low bar.
They are so good on that event. That hop on the landing to them, I know, feels like a miss, right?
They are perfectionists, and that's what makes Oklahoma so good, is they're so detail-oriented.
Kalia Lincoln next. Now, she can fly as high as anybody on this vault, but the landings is where she's had to improve, and she has the last couple weeks. See if she can do it again here. Pair 9.875s to start for the Tigers.
Stuck this in warm-up. Wow. I could see her arms spread open to get that stuck landing. Coaches told me she has to remember to walk the first 4 steps, because sometimes she gets too excited and runs too fast. That was amazing. Watch her arm position. She opens up, and the height is the amplitude off the table is just amazing. The distance, the judges can take off if you don't have enough distance from the table. Obviously, no issues with that vault.
Her head about 6 feet above the vault table, which is already about 5 feet above the ground. She's above the rim, if in case you were wondering. Incredible. Now Lily Peterson another freshman here for Oklahoma, a 9.875 for Theta in the 2 spot.
Lily's a freshman I've been particularly impressed with. She's actually struggling with a groin injury. I spoke to her before the competition. Hasn't been able to practice much since Sunday. So in gymnastics, you can only imagine how much you use your groin, like cast handstands like that, straddling, and no issues in this double layout. Watch her legs and body position squeeze so tight. Excellent.
Got it. And that is just how Oklahoma wears you down. They just stick landings. They're clean. They're precise. That's why they're #1 in the country. KJ Kindler in her 19th season at Oklahoma. All she does is win national titles, 6 of them in the last decade, though. A lot of talk about last year's collapse at the NCAA championships after an historic regular season. They are looking for redemption. The LSU Tigers, they're looking to repeat. Here's Amari Drayton, another big vaulter.
Vault is massive. Wow. Vault is the only event that judges have not given a 10 out. And I think that could be, the vault is one of the only events that they take an under rotation deduction. So she had the small hop, but watch, she goes backwards towards the vault, so just ever so slightly under rotated. So I'm guessing it's going to be a 9.95 or a 9.9. Curious to see what the judges are going to do with that.
Yeah, Kalia Lincoln, a 9.95 for her vault. Yeah, vault, no 10-0s this year. In fact, there's been 3 9.9s or 4 9.975s. That means one judge out of the 2 has given a 10 4 times, but no pure 10s so far this season on that event. Here is Faith Torres, #3 in the country in the all-around.
And watch this skill coming right up here. It's called a pack salto. She's going to go from the high bar to the low bar. Watch the height that she gets on that. Judges are looking for elbows straight. Shows she has good distance. Just a little bit of leg separation on that pack salto. We're seeing a different angle from the judges, but I imagine they can see it. And then this double layout, excellent precision on that stuck landing, but she's going to get a deduction for some leg separation on that dismount and pack salto.
And I kind of undersold her. #2 in the country in the all-around is Faith Torres.
Just, you can see right there, those toes come together, come apart, and then right here, leg separation, but that landing was perfect.
Both of these teams absolutely rolling. Amari Drayton, a 9.875 for LSU in the 4 spot. Now, Kaylin Chio, if there's a better freshman in the country this year, bring her up, because I don't know if anybody can hold the candle to Chio so far. She's been outstanding.
Kaylin will do the same vault that we've seen. Yurchenko 1.5. Stuck this last week on a 9.975. Wow. That block off the table, the elbows were so straight. The straighter your elbows are on the table, the higher you explode off of it.
Jay Clark in his 5th season as the head coach of the LSU Tigers, 14th season overall as part of the staff. He led this team to their first ever NCAA championship last year, and what a big moment for them. I've teased him over the years that they're the best team that has never won a national title, and he can flush that title down the toilet because they are the champs. Audrey Davis, #1 in the country on this event.
And this bar routine is fantastic. That skill right there requires so much flexibility. Audrey, that was textbook. Look, she was against the wall. Audrey has never scored under a 9.8.
If you're just joining us, this is Audrey Davis from Oklahoma finishing her bar routine. She's #1 in the country on this event. And this is the #1 team in the nation, the Oklahoma Sooners. They come to Baton Rouge today to visit the #2 team in the country, but the defending NCAA champions, the LSU Tigers. This is a meet about repeat or redemption. Oklahoma looking for some redemption after a disappointing NCAA championships last year. You can see what these 2 teams have done, and they come in, both of them top 5 in the country on all 4 events. And this is the matchup everyone circled at the beginning of the season. I'm John Roethlisberger. I'm joined by Olympic champion Allie Raisman. And Allie, maybe the best vaulter in the country right here, Haley Bryant.
She sure is. For skills like that, that vault was amazing. Will we see the first perfect 10 on vault of the season?
I tell you what, I said before the meet, I go, KJ Johnson's going to stick her vault, and then Haley Bryant's going to finish the rotation with another stuck vault. Was this perfect?
That was excellent. You could see the way she opens up her arms right here. That's what helps her control that landing. That was brilliant.
I tell you what, be careful if you're judging vault and you don't put up a 10 right here. The PMAC is filled to the rafters, and they want a perfect 10. It will be the first one of this collegiate season on this event, but look at the numbers for LSU. Oh, and it's not a 10 for Bryant, a 9.95. That ain't something to sneeze at. Jordan Bowers now in the anchor spot. Need a big one here. Otherwise, they're going to be trailing after this first rotation. I think they will be trailing.
Jordan is so precise on this event for handstands like that. Judges want it to look like you are holding it against the wall, like a perfect straight line. Judges allow for a 10-degree window. But watch Jordan's toe point, and then this dismount right here. Her knees and toes are glued together, and she usually sticks it.
Gotta stick it. Oh, the foot moved. Oh, they needed that stuck landing right there. And I'll tell you what, not as many stuck landings as you usually see from the #1 team in the country on bars. That is something they will look back on if this meet comes down to a half a tenth, is little things like this.
Watch the way that her shoulders are so open, elbows slightly bent. Judges want to see elbows completely straight throughout, and then watch her knees and toes pointed together the entire time. And that minor step, probably going to be about a half a tenth deduction, but those little half a tenths are going to make a difference at the end of this meet.
Man, I tell you what, LSU comes out with tying a season high on vault in the entire country with a 49.6. Still waiting for that Jordan Bowers score. I believe it is a 9.9, so they will trail by 0.175 here in Baton Rouge. Mike the Tiger is thrilled here in Baton Rouge because the home team, LSU, almost a 2/10 lead over the #1 team in the country, the Oklahoma Sooners, as they go to their second rotation now. Oklahoma, they'll move over to the vault. LSU moves over to the uneven bars. The home team always goes Olympic order. They start on vault, finish on floor. The visitors have to end on balance beam. Here is where these two teams rank. They're all ranked in the top 5 on every single event. Here, Oklahoma third on vault. You see the first vaulter, Lily Peterson.
Wow, the way that she floated down into that half twist was just excellent. Yurchenko is a round of back handspring onto the table, 1.5 twist. That vault is out of a 10.0. I think that could be a 9.9. 1/10 for the step. Didn't see any other deductions there.
That seems logical, Allie, but don't let logic get in the way of a good score in gymnastics. We're going over to LSU on bars. This is an opportunity, in my opinion, for LSU. They have a lead. They're very good on bars. If they can stick some landings and hit some handstands, as you look at Lexi Zeiss about to mount, it's tough for Oklahoma to stick those vaults. A chance to extend this lead, in my opinion.
Yeah, and if someone's going to do it, it's Lexi. I watched her in warm-up, and I was so impressed. This skill coming up right here, this pirouette. She did this right on top of the bar in the warm-up. She held it. Exactly what the judges are looking for, but this cast handstand, the tightness of her body is exactly what they're looking for. Needs a stick. Great start.
Fantastic start for the former national team member of a world championship team is Lexi Zeiss out of Twin City Twisters Gymnastics, and she gets the stick crown, well deserved.
Does a great job keeping her legs glued together. This is the same viewpoint that the judges have.
9.85 for Lily Peterson. Faith Torres now. Outstanding vaulter as well, ranked 7th in the country. She's got one of those 4 9.975s. That's the highest score on vault so far in the country. She's got one of them.
Stuck this vault last week. Wow. Small, ever so slightly, half a tenth hop. It actually looked like she held back a little bit to me. You don't want to go for the stick, because sometimes it makes you a little bit more nervous. Watch her elbow position. Looked like she was actually, didn't get as much distance as she usually did. Her arms look a little bit close to the front of the board. Want to be a little bit more positioned backwards, but great control on that landing.
clean landing. You would expect it to go up slightly from Lily Peterson's score. We'll see if it does. Lexi Zeiss, though, a 9.875. This is Ashley Cowan, number 18 in the country on this event.
Ashley flies on this release move. I can't emphasize enough the amount of force on your body when you catch that release move on the high bar right there. In this double layout, the precision of this with her body position. Oh, almost. Those stuck landings are much harder than they look, and it's a lot of pounding on your body. Those stuck landings don't always feel good on your ankles.
Faith Torres, a 9.975. That is her second score, equaling the highest score in the country on that event. I'll be honest, the way vault has been judged throughout the season, I didn't think she was going to go 9.975 on that vault.
I didn't either. She also had a small hop, which means one of the judges actually gave her a 10. And vault is the only event that we haven't seen a 10 yet from. So I'm hoping to see one tonight.
Addison Feda now.
Same vault we just saw.
You talked about going for the stuck landing, Allie.
Yeah, it's really tricky. If you think about the sticks, sometimes you forget what you have to do at the beginning of the vault, the entry point, the round off. When I was competing, all I thought about was keeping my elbows so straight. I thought about the round off and then legs really straight on the board.
And I don't want to overstate the harm that landing. I don't say harm, but that step back, that vault will be one they don't want to count. Absolutely. They're going to get hammered on that step backwards. But now that puts pressure on the last three vaulters. They not only got to hit, they got to hit clean, because LSU, they're not going anywhere. As we see Alexis Jeffrey mount the bars, 9.825 for Ashley Cowan.
Alexis is very patient on this event. That shoot over position, I really admire how aggressive she was and really went for that handstand. We'll get a deduction for that arch position, but did a good job being brave, trying to go for it. Sometimes twist that a little bit too slow. Probably one of the highest full and dismounts in the country. And I spoke to Coach Clark about it, and he says she has to remember to get her right arm over in front of her so she can rotate faster.
Sky high dismount, so good.
Body position right there. That takes so much shoulder strength and so much shoulder flexibility. Good fight there.
That was a big save. At a big moment, Addison Feda just a 9.75. You can see on the right hand of your screen our scoring tower. All the scores come in there. The reason the 9.75 is lightly shaded is that is the lowest score and the score they currently would drop if all other scores are higher than that. Here is Kira Wells. A lot of pressure on her right now.
Kira has one of the best pops off the table I have seen. She has not stuck a vault yet, but coaches think it's coming. They're trying to get her to spot the ground after the full twist, hoping that if she can spot it, she'll be able to see that landing.
Yeah, she's a sophomore and obviously a huge 1.5. And you think with a vault like that, you're gonna find a stick somewhere or other. 0 for 23 in her college career on stuck landings, which is surprising given how good that vault is. We saw an outstanding vault from Kaylin Chio in the first rotation. Now here she is on bars. Alexis Jeffrey, a 9.8. This meet, that score feels low if you're going to count it. They're trying not to here on bars.
Kaylin does a good job taking it one skill at a time. Each gymnast has to find their rhythm on this event. Very difficult to find your rhythm when you're nervous. Your body feels different than it does when you're in practice. This is a unique skill right here. Looked like that left hand on the bar was a little bit off. Did a great job staying on. Stuck landing, that's what they want to see. Kaylin has been so huge for this team. It's really hard to believe she's a freshman. Watch this, watch her left hand. Looked like it was just on her fingertips. Had to use a lot of strength on that right arm. Was a little bit short on that cast handstand. Want to be right on top of the bar.
Haley Bryant, the defending all-around champ at the NCAA last year for LSU, has been out for much of the season. Hasn't done all-around all season and gradually working her way back. But in lieu of that, Kaylin Chio has been just a huge asset to the LSU Tiger team. Now Jordan Bowers, she's a huge asset to the Sooner team, one of the best in the country in the all-around, follows Wells' 9.875.
And what you'll notice about Jordan is is she runs with her chest up and runs slow, and that helps her control the round off, because if you do the round off correctly, then the good vault will come. Just that step forward, a little bit of bent legs right before she went for that landing, but that's normal. I used to do that when I was competing too. You kind of anticipate to have that safer landing.
Fans of gymnastics remember the NCAA semifinals last year. Oklahoma missed 3 vaults, under-rotated them, and you got to wonder if going forward they're going to just have the plan of take a step forward, play it safe. Here is Aaliyah Finnegan now, 9-9 for Kaylin Chio. Big score.
That release move was perfect distance. Elbows and body was completely flat as she caught the bar.
Aaliyah, absolutely one of the stars of this team. Been a big all-around performer for them all season long.
Wow. That was so much better than last week. Last week landed just a little bit short, that step back, but actually that was over-rotated where last week was under-rotated, so good improvement. Watch the height on this, the tap, and just catches that with so much room. And taps really well, legs, knees glued together.
Kim Mulkey, the basketball coach, national champion. And there's Dee Dee Bro, the legendary gymnastics coach here at LSU. She knows how important those stuck landings are, Allie, and she knows that LSU missed an opportunity there. Now, a lineup change for the Sooners. Audrey Davis was supposed to do all-around and also supposed to anchor this vault rotation, but they changed it to Elle Miller. Elle, a sensational freshman for the Sooner team, and maybe a little higher upside on this vault than Audrey Davis has.
This is Elle's second time competing vaults in her entire collegiate career. Went crooked last week. Much better improvement. Last week, the vault she did was great, but she went a little bit crooked this week, right down the middle. That's exactly what the coaches want to see, is you improving week to week.
So only one score over a 9-9 so far for Oklahoma on the vault, and that was that big 9.975 from Faith Torres. Jordan Bowers right before her, a 9.875, same score that Kira Wells got. As Lou Ball, the main vault coach, has some words with Elle Miller. Somebody who really takes execution to another level is Connor McLean. She is here in the anchor spot. Just exquisite on this event.
Connor is in its cast handstands like that. The extension, watch the skill right here.
So high.
And this last week was just fantastic. The pack salto was so high.
9.825 right here will allow LSU to maintain the lead.
Wow. I think if this dismount is stuck, that is could be a 10, no problem. It's definitely gonna get the score they need. That was just stunning.
Both of these teams, though, the bar landings, Allie, you know they're both thinking, man, we had a chance, we had an opportunity, because they usually stick them, and it just wasn't quite there overall in their bar lineups, both of them.
And that handstand right on top of the bar looks like she's just hanging out against the wall. And the height on this dismount is just, it's what every single judge and coach dreams of. Caught it a little bit too short, close to the bar. Would have loved to see her just a little bit released, a little bit farther away from the bar, but
yeah, if you think about that bar being, that high bar being about 8 feet above the floor, and then her head is 6 feet above that. If my 4th grade math, by the way, 4th grade, the best 3 years of my life, tells me that's 14 feet approximately.
It does not feel good when you miss the bar and fall, John. I can definitely say that.
Wow, a 9.8 for Connor McLean in the anchor spot. Woo! Judges are sharpening those pencils. We have a tie meet. Woo! You're watching the SEC on ESPN. In closed circuit to Hugh Jackman. This is the greatest show. We have got an unbelievable 1 versus 2 matchup here in Baton Rouge. The home team, the Tigers, had a lead, 0.175. It looked like for a moment going into that second rotation that they might extend that lead, but not so fast. The Oklahoma Sooners come back and tie it with the score. You thought that Connor McLean score might have been a little low at the end of that bar rotation.
I did think the Connor McQueen's score on bars was low, but we do have a different angle than the judges, so maybe they saw something we didn't.
One thing the judges have been this season has been a little more critical on these routines, looking for those little things, which is okay, but you just want to be consistent across the board as we see the rankings for these two teams heading into this rotation. LSU on beam, number 5 in the nation. Oklahoma on the floor exercise, they are number 2. Oklahoma in the top 3 on every event. Amazing. Here's Sierra Ballard, one of the best starters in the country on balance beam. Had a little trouble last week, though, but that to me is an outlier. She is rock solid here.
Yeah, she actually told me she felt rushed. It was on this skill right here. No issues today. She told me she couldn't find a bobby pin last minute. It was so loud in the arena, and her teammates couldn't hear her asking for it. So she felt really rushed. Got a 9.55 on beam last week. So I know she's fired up and looking to get a good score tonight. This leadoff spot on beam is arguably the most important spot in the entire competition.
If I had $1 for every time I needed a bobby pin quickly, I would be a rich man.
Looks like she found it before beam tonight.
She is on.
This is a new dismount for Sierra. Used to do a round off 1.5, added an extra half twist to this, said it is a lot harder than it looks, a lot more endurance required, but easier to stick in my opinion. Sierra takes so much pride in going first, and that's exactly why you say she's one of the best leadoffs in the country, because she knows what it means to this team.
And absolutely delivered there. Again, remember, you got to count 5 scores in every event on beam. As you get more hits, as you go along, scores build, but it also gives a little breathing room to those athletes at the end. And that's why it's super critical on an event like beam that is so easy to come off of. You did a lot of years of balance beam, and you can feel so perfect sometimes, and then you're standing next to the beam.
Sometimes you just breathe at the wrong second, or your shoulder dips a little bit and you're completely off. And right here, I don't know what's happening with Audrey, but when you're ready to go and you're told to get off the floor and start again, that actually can really rattle you. You've got to recenter yourself, relax. This environment is different for them. It's a lot louder than they're used to.
And the crowd is going crazy because Sierra Ballard in the leadoff spot. Allie Raisman, a 9.95, which is a career high score for her. The Sooners have been put on notice. Tigers are coming.
That is epic. And right now for Audrey, I can see her. She's looking around. She sees the crowd. It's even if you're trying to stay in your own bubble, you can hear the excitement in the arena, and it has to add a little bit of pressure. But if anyone's going to do it and get this team on the right track, it's Audrey Davis. Coach Kindler said she's a sure thing. She's so consistent. Audrey was standing on the edge of the floor. The crowd is chanting LSU as Sierra Ballard put up a 9.95, and she just turned and smiled. Here she is. Audrey has only missed one routine, only fallen once in her entire NCAA career. She means so much to this team, and she is so important.
This is a very interesting moment of this competition because the crowd very quiet, respectful to the Sooners, but you could hear a pin drop even after that routine was over, other than Sooner fans, but they absolutely erupted. You got to wonder the emotions of the judges. This is an emotional meet. It's a subjective sport. KJ Kindler said, we got to go in there and we got to outscore them by 5/10 if we want to beat them on their floor. This is that moment she is talking about. Can the Sooners keep pace when the LSU Tigers are hitting routines and being emotional? Kylie Cohen for the Tigers now follows at 9.95.
Yeah, and I got to be honest, as an athlete, I don't know what's more difficult, competing when it's so quiet or when it's very loud. Both can be very distracting. I watched Kylie in practice yesterday, and what stood out to me is how assertive she is in the confidence in which she does each skill. Same skill we saw Sierra do. A series connecting 2 acro skills in a row is a requirement. Judges are looking for that 180-degree split, maybe ever so slightly not 180, that back leg on both of those jumps. Judges could take off maybe 1/10 for each of those.
Audrey Davis, a 9.9 for the Sooners, a good start score as well, but give up a 1/10 to the Tigers on that first routine.
Huge confidence booster for this team. Talked about in the beginning how sometimes mistakes can be contagious, but sticks are also contagious. This momentum is going to help them so much. Legs nice and tight. And then this stuck landing. Arms go right out, spots that landing.
Let's jump over to floor. Taylor, what you got?
John, it's been interesting down here on the floor to kind of gauge the different mental approaches before each rotation. And for the Sooners, rotations 1 and 2 were very quiet. Everyone was very focused inward, not a lot of cheering. But before floor, this team was electrified by energy, dancing around, encouraging one another. Allie, you mentioned at the beginning of the meet how many freshmen are contributing. And this is just their second road dual meet of the season. KJ Kindler told us for a lot of them, it's a test of mental toughness.
And this is one of those freshmen, Taylor Addison Fada, in a big spot. Beautiful opening pass, though.
Coach Kindler choreographs all the routines. This is one of my favorite routines. Front through into 2.5 twist. Stumbled on that landing right there. Sometimes that can just be an endurance thing.
I think she stayed in bounds. I'm curious if Taylor had a view of that or not, but that is a 10th if she goes over the line.
She was in, John. Confirmed.
Our eyes on the sideline coming through. Thanks, Taylor.
Be interesting to see what they do with that front through to the 2.5 twist. Looked like almost landed with a little bit of legs bent. Watch her leg position as she lands this. It's a 2.5 twist, really difficult. Just actually left leg went crooked instead of stepping straight.
Kind of stumbled a little bit. We'll see what the judges do with that. That first pass, the double twist to the leap at the opening pass looked about as good as you can do it. So not a lot of other deductions. Kylie Cohen on beam, a 9.875. I think given what Ballard scored, a 9.95, I expected that one to be higher. They saw something we didn't, obviously, as Kaylin Chio now in the hunt for that all-around title, currently in that top spot. She takes to the beam.
Kaylin tells herself, put it where you want it. The key to being good on beam is pretending you're on the floor and not holding back. Got to go big for your skills. One of the most impressive front aerials, the way that she floats into that. You notice her arm movement was continuous. If you stop or break the movement, dip your shoulder, move your feet, you do not get credit for that connection. No issues for Kaylin on that connection. Hard to believe that Kaylin is a freshman, the maturity of which she competes. Dismount usually sticks it.
3 for 3. You know, I'm not sure what the judges are going to do here on beam. All 3 of these routines look so good.
Yeah, and that 180, it's actually over 180-degree split. Leg straight, that's exquisite. And this dismount, back handspring into 1.5. It's actually impressive because you don't get that much power from the back handspring. So it really shows her strength there.
I know we talk about 10s a lot, but Sierra Ballard's routine, visually no flaws, 995. Kaylin Chio executes as well as any gymnast in the country. No visible flaws. I don't know where they go. The 10 is not far away. As we see Lily Peterson, now Addison Fada, only a 9.825. The Sooners giving up a 10th through 2 gymnasts in this rotation to the Tigers.
That 2.5 twist, same skill that we saw Addison do, was just ever so slightly over-rotated. 2.5s are very tricky. If you're just even 5 degrees too far back, you can over-rotate it. Lily struggling with a groin injury, hasn't been able to practice much since Sunday. She told me that floor and beam are the events that bother her the most. Wow.
Right on the side.
That toe almost went out. Excellent job. Skills like that are the ones that bother the groin. Coach Kindler said when she watches Lily, you can't see a difference between her outside of the gym, in the gym in practice, or competing. She doesn't show any nerves in this round off 1.5 to a 2.5 twist. Very difficult. You see her chest was too far forward on that. And then right here, a little bit over-rotated as well, but with an injury, I mean, it's just unbelievable to be able to do a routine like that.
I tell you what, through the first half of the meet, we heard KJ Kindler talk about landings. Both teams gave up some landings, and they ended up tied. This rotation has started with LSU sticking landings. Oklahoma's landings not great on floor, and so far, that is the difference. It absolutely, you just come down to something as simple as who is going to land better, and right now the Tigers are doing it here in this third rotation. Connor McLean following the 9.925 from Chio. The crowd hated that 9.925. They wanted to see that one be higher.
Connor is exquisite on this event. Did a great job, was a little bit off one of those shoulders and just kept that connection going. Sometimes when Connor's nervous, she tends to rush, but I'm noticing she's doing an excellent job taking her time. Connor prefers to have a very fast rhythm, but coaches want her to slow down.
Connor coming back from an Achilles tear. She was on the path to try to make that 2024 Olympic team, tore her Achilles, but just a remarkable comeback. Head coach Jay Clark called her a comeback, said there was ferocity in her comeback, and she is back on 2 events, and she's tumbling. The word is maybe we'll see her on that event before the season's over.
Yeah, it's hard to believe she was recently out with an Achilles injury. I mean, she is a superstar.
You know, if these beam routines keep going the way they're going, and they have been they're as good as these athletes can do them. But if they don't get a 10 at some point, I might run for cover because the crowd has not been happy, and they're getting rowdier and rowdier with each routine.
I gotta say, I'm super impressed with the way that LSU is handling the magnitude of this moment and the pressure to be able to hit routine after routine and to stick those dismounts. As you mentioned, it's going to come down to those.
Freshman Elle Miller now on the floor exercise. A half a tenth. Every gymnast that's gone for each team, Oklahoma has given up a half tenth to LSU. So a tenth and a half lead after it was tied in the second rotation.
Landed short on that double tuck.
And that's something that Elle just can't do. That's a skill that's well within her ability level, maybe trying to stick it too much.
Yeah, just opened up for that landing, anticipated it too early, but this choreography is excellent. The precision of every single move. I think the choreography is exceptional.
What an ABC women's college basketball doubleheader we have for you Sunday afternoon. Paige Beckers and number 7 UConn square off against number 2 South Carolina in a sonic blockbuster at 1 Eastern. Then number 3 Texas hosts number 5 LSU at the Moody Center in Austin. It all starts with the College Game Day crew at 11 a.m. Eastern on ESPN from Colonial Life Arena in Columbia, South Carolina.
Well, you hear the crowd, John. Haley Bryant gets on beam and obviously back on 3 events now to start the season. She was dealing with an elbow injury. It's been a slow work back. We were at practice yesterday watching her do a little bit on bars, but head coach Jay Clark has spoken openly about how strategic they're having to be with her. But I asked her teammate Aaliyah Finnegan, when Haley was out at the beginning of season, did you guys feel any added pressure? And she said, actually, no, because believe it or not, Haley's biggest contribution is her leadership. And we were never lacking that.
Well, I'll tell you what, if that's her biggest contribution, man, it is something special, because her gymnastics, obviously some of the best in the country. She was the all-around champ at the NCAA last year. I asked Jay Clark, I said, any chance, you could look over on that bar rotation and she gives you the signal and you put her in? He said, no way. Not even for this big of a meet, but she will be back in the all-around if things keep trending in that direction. Connor McLean, a 9.925, a pair of 9.925s now for the Tigers.
Another stuck dismount. Haley Bryant is missed consistency. Just some minor wobbles on that, but that standing punch front she does is so difficult. Most gymnasts can't even do that from running. And again, another over 180-degree split. That front leg is so beautiful. And then right here, this front 1.5, just a little bit of legs crossed and perfectly stuck landing.
Tiger fans certainly happy to see her working her way back into that lineup. 3 scores of 9.925 or higher for the Tigers on beam. Elle Miller, a 9.9, so a good score for her. But every gymnast has given up some tenths to the Tigers here in this rotation. Jordan Bowers now trying to get some of that back.
Watch the height on this punch front right here. Kicks open, perfect timing there.
Can't be done better.
I agree. And I think she knows that. I love the confidence of this routine. Watch the front foot on this double pike. Just ever so slightly slid that leg.
Do not want to slide that front foot. That should be a deduction.
Breathtaking. I think that's one of the best routines, in my opinion, of NCAA. That the dance on that is just such a performance. And then watch the way that she kicks out of this punch front, has so much air time.
And perfect form on the twist. A lot of times you see those feet cross.
Yeah, a judge told me you want to ask yourself, did she want to take a step or did she have to? In there, that was a very high double pike, but she had to take a step back. So as you mentioned, they should take maybe half a tenth for that.
It seems like that may be the highest score, though, for the Sooners. Certainly in that 9-9 range. Haley Bryant, a 9.825. Looks like the judges got her on some of those wobbles that you eyed up, Allie. Now here is Aaliyah Finnegan. She knows pressure spots. This was the exact position she was at the NCAA championship. She had to deliver then. She did. They got their first title. Now here in the biggest dual meet of the regular season, she's got to deliver again.
This is a big test for Aaliyah. 3 skills connected in a row.
Wow, what a fight.
What an impressive save. I noticed on the first back handspring was slightly crooked. That first back handspring is so important to set the tone for the rest of those 3 skills in a row. Most gymnasts do 2 skills in a row, so I really admire and want to give Aaliyah a lot of credit for going for that big risk of doing 3 in a row. That front aerial was so well done because she landed with her legs so straight and her body so upright.
I'll tell you what, LSU looked like they were about to pull away on this rotation. I say pull away, get a 2 or 3/10 lead. With 2 stars at the end of this rotation, Haley Bryant, Aaliyah Finnegan, these are going to be their 2 lowest scores of this beam rotation, which is a little bit shocking to me.
That first back handspring looked crooked to me, and when you're on the beam, it's only 4 inches wide. Look at that back foot right there. It's so hard to grip the beam when you already feel it. Usually as a gymnast, right when you take off for that back handspring, when you're in the air, before your hands hit the beam, you feel when you're a little bit off.
That was an incredible save. The look of the feet grabbing the beam. Impressive. Now it's an opportunity for the Sooners because Faith Torres, number 3 in the country on this event, has a high score this year of a 9.975. Jordan Bowers just put up a 9.95. A big score here. We might be right back to a tie.
And right here, this double layout, sometimes judges take off for that leg separation, but that was the best double layout I've seen her do. Huge improvement even from last week.
A 9.9 from Torres. It's not going to be a tie. It's going to be a lead for the Sooners.
Last week, Faith stuck this tumbling past this double tuck. Wow. I think that should definitely get over a 9.9. I think that's going to be a big score.
Calm, methodical, surgical are the Sooners.
You never want to count anybody out, and the competition is certainly not over until it's over. This last tumbling pass, good control, chest was up.
Wow, a 9.7 for Aaliyah Finnegan as we wait for that Faith Torres score. KJ Kindler. giving her a hug, and she's earned that. Reagan Smith, there's another member of the coaching staff. She was a star for these Sooners for a long time. She's got a couple of national team titles as well. Allie, it felt like it might slip towards the side of the Tigers, but this score, a 9-9-5, that's going to give Oklahoma a lead by .075.
Well, guys, we wanted a compelling 1 versus 2 matchup, and we've got it. Down here on the floor with both of these teams, the energy in their eyes, focus, excitement as we head in to this final rotation. LSU on floor, Oklahoma on beam, the place where both teams thrive. 1 rotation to...
You're watching the SEC on ESPN. And if you've been with us throughout, you have seen a fantastic, one of the best you'll ever see. LSU with the lead after 1, then it's tied halfway through because, yeah, it should be tied. After the 3rd rotation, .075 separates these two teams. It might as well still be tied. Last time they met here, it was a half-tenth win for the Oklahoma Sooners. And you know they are not comfortable with that .075 lead, Allie. They go to an event, they're number 1 in the country. But even though LSU, they're number 4 in the country on floor, nobody tumbles bigger than them. So we'll see how those two things match up here as Audrey Davis takes to the beam, NCAA champion, shared that title this past year.
Audrey is so impressive on this event because she's very calm. What you'll notice about Oklahoma on beam is the releve. They step with their toe first, not their heel first. Handspring layout, soft knees on that. And this right here is a beautiful combination, that front aerial into that kick down onto the beam. Throwing your head back on the beam like that is such a risk. Your arms have to be completely parallel. If one just drops even 1 degree, you can be off the beam. And just the dismount, watch the legs. Oh, tried too hard to stick that. Chest was a little too low, but great start for Oklahoma.
So Audrey gets him out of the gates here on balance beam.
Well, John, before this meet started, unfortunately, LSU's Chase Brock went down with a lower leg injury while warming up her double back on floor. Head coach Jay Clark carried a very emotional, shaken up Chase Brock off the floor. And having watched the injury and talked to her after, Jay Clark told me their concern is an Achilles injury. She is down here with her team. She's on crutches and in a boot. The medical team will give another evaluation at the conclusion of tonight's meet. But it was a real test for this team. Very emotional teammates and coaches, and it affected this floor lineup. She was slated to compete on floor and vault. Kalia Lincoln leading off for the first time this year, and Sierra Ballard moves into that 2nd spot.
Thanks, Taylor. Yeah, emotional moment for the LSU Tigers before the meet, but they've got depth here, and this is some of it in Kalia Lincoln.
I think that is the best double layout in the world, including the Olympic level. She floats into it and lands as light as a feather. Coach Clark talked about how they have the back 4 in the lineup set. They're still figuring out and experimenting with who is going to start the team off and who's going to get that 2nd spot.
The utter absurdity of the fact that she starts the floor rotation. She would anchor almost every team in the country because of this.
Watch her feet position when she lands that. Almost lands on releve. Watching it in person is even more impressive, in the height on these. And then this last tumbling pass, good job keeping her legs together. Yeah, as you mentioned, I think most teams would be thrilled to have that in the anchor spot, let alone the very beginning. Very well done.
Kira Wells now on balance beam, follows a 9.825 from Audrey Davis. I think that Lincoln score will certainly be higher than that. That means after one gymnast, this meet will be basically tied.
It's so hard when you're competing. I was just gonna say, it's so hard to stay in your zone. That switch leap, her chest dipped too low. She had to keep her shoulder blades back. That's gonna be at least 3/10 of a deduction. And then last week she struggled on this right here. A little bit shaky. It's very normal after you have a mistake.
And after that, Kalia Lincoln 9.925, LSU has the lead. The Sooners will not want to count this Wells beam routine. Their margin for error has been wiped away.
Good recovery. It's so difficult and so frustrating having to come back after a mistake like that. Now watch her chest position. She dips it too low. Right there. That left arm completely over. And watch her feet position. Turned her toe in.
So now the pressure just got exponentially increased for the Sooners with 4 gymnasts yet to go. Again, you can drop that low score, but I'll tell you what, these Tigers, they know how to tumble, including Sierra Ballard right here.
Sierra is going to do the same skill we saw Kalia do. And I have a feeling Sierra is going to light a fire for this team. Right about here, Sierra is actually finding her parents and family in the stands. Watch the body position here. Judges allow for a little bit of an arch. Helps you rotate faster. And then right here, she just throws her arms straight to the side. And she loves it.
She's pumped.
As she should.
She is pumped, and she gets in that floor lineup. She was the alternate. Chase Brock gets hurt. I mean, what an alternate. You put her in, and that is very likely going to be another 9-9 or very darn close. Courtney McCool-Griffith, the main floor coach, she loves it as well, as she should. Addison Fada now mounts the beam. Big time pressures. You see her all around standings. Freshman Kaylin Chio getting chased. And actually tied with Faith Torres from Oklahoma. Very close all around race. Those gymnasts doing all 4 events this evening. Addison's not been perfect tonight. She's had some moments, steps on landings. She needs to be perfect right here.
Yeah, did a great job. The crowd actually got really loud right before her back handspring layout step out. That can be very rattling if you're an athlete and you can hear that. I like the fierceness in which she's competing on beam. The tighter your arms are, the easier it is to stay on the beam. And landing sideways like that is actually more difficult. It's harder to grip the beam that way. About 40% of Oklahoma's routines actually come from freshmen. And this Oklahoma freshman class has been exquisite this year, the way that they have handled the pressure.
And they have a freshman coming up later in this rotation. Big pressure spot for her.
Oh. I mean, that was just about as good as she could have done it. The most important competitor in the competition is the one that goes after someone that makes a mistake. And that is huge, not only for this team, but also for Addison's confidence.
She did that about as perfect as she could do it. She absolutely needed to. Kira Wells, a 9.575. They absolutely will have to drop that score. They count that score, the meet is over. So that means the next 3 gymnasts for Oklahoma have absolutely got to be lights out, erase that 9.575, which currently is counted into that 19.4. You see that 19.14 score for Oklahoma on beam? It's 4.5 tenths lower than LSU's floor score. That is because they're currently counting that low score. Here is Kaylin Chio, tied for the lead in the all-around, following a pair of 9.925s for the Tigers.
Doesn't even need to grab her legs. Most gymnasts pull to help them rotate faster. Impressive. She keeps her hips open.
They are on those landings. We've seen a couple of double layouts perfectly landed. That full in, full out rather, is also very close to perfect.
Skills, a big test, 2.5 punch front. That was textbook. That tumbling pass always makes me nervous because you've got to be so perfectly on the way you take off for that 2.5 twist. Keep in mind, Kaylin and all the all-arounders have competed every single weekend. Doesn't show any signs of fatigue.
They are absolutely rolling here.
And watch her hip position. She's almost in a layout position. Obviously, her legs are tucked, but impressive how her hips are almost completely open there. And then the way that she takes off for that 2.5 punch front, that front tuck was extremely high.
I'm not sure if Jay Clark is enjoying this or if he's stressed. This is absolutely what we have billed it as. Taylor, what you got?
As Jordan Bowers gets going here on her beam routine, exquisite gymnastics, no doubt, but we always talk about her intensity. John, you and I were mentioning it even in the warm-ups, and I asked her this week at what point she realized that that kind of competition approach worked for her. She said, I think I was about 9 years old. If you talk to her, it doesn't fit this competitive persona, but Allie, it's always interesting to me the different approaches each individual has to competition.
Yeah, Taylor, I completely agree. I was pretty intense when I was competing too, but what's unique about this routine is before Jordan even starts any skill, like that full turn right there, she does over 30 seconds of choreography. Helps her get settled into the routine. And Jordan, when she is on, she is magnificent on this event. It's the only event she has not scored a perfect 10 on.
And she is almost perfect here. Yeah, watching her warm up, she has this look on her face. It reminded me of a pack of wolves around the hen house. And all of them are scratching at the fence trying to get one. And Jordan Bowers is the one that knocks down the front door and has dinner. She is absolutely in a zone when she competes.
Wow. Tried too hard to stick that landing.
Can't take that step. Just absolutely can't take a step. That is where Oklahoma is right now. They have to be perfect, and that was a perfect routine with a free step on the dismount. She can be mad at herself for that one.
And this was rock solid. See some leg separation crossed right here, and then just opened up too early to stick that landing. Judges want to see completely vertical.
So Kaylin Chio, a 9.95. That is a season high score for her. Sierra Ballard, a 9.925. That is a career high score for her. And here's Amari Drayton, who might be better than all of them.
Same skill that we saw Sierra and Kalia do. This double layout is ginormous. That was perfection. The extension and the amplitude of this is just fantastic. And the endurance required to, at the very end of your routine when you're out of breath, to do a front tuck that high into a double tuck. I mean, it looks too easy for her.
The opening passes for this LSU floor team. We saw Kalia Lincoln do the double layout, and we're like, it can't be better than that. And then I'd like to see Amari Drayton and Kalia Lincoln and Sierra Ballard have a double layout contest, because it is something to behold. Jordan Bowers, a 9.85. That step on the landing absolutely killed that score. Would have been a mid-9.9. Now Lily Peterson, just a freshman, in the biggest, highest pressure moment of her young career.
And this right here is very difficult. You can hear the crowd. They're going crazy as she's in the middle of her back handspring layout. That's something, to be honest, as an athlete, no matter how much you train, it's an outside environment that you can't really control. How do you train for something like that?
A little wobble right there. KJ Kindler said they love finishing on beam. I'm like, who loves finishing on beam? That is...
Well, it's very startling when you're in the middle of a skill and the crowd erupts. Lily's doing a good job. This is part of the experience of learning and growing. And this dismount does a good job popping off the beam. Same thing, went too hard for that stick. If you think about the stick, you forget to do the round off. Technically sound to be able to get that chest up on the landing.
It looks like this meet might be slipping away from the Sooners, and if it does, it's because of the landings. And just a little factoid for you. Tonight's attendance, 13,386, third highest in history. That's not the factoid. Factoid is LSU's never lost when the attendance is above 13,000. I mean, you can take that one to the bank, Allie. Tonight looks like that streak might just continue.
I can only imagine what it feels like to compete in this arena for LSU. It must be electric.
Aaliyah Finnegan now. Aaliyah has had a little bit of trouble on one of her passes going out of bounds. We saw her wobble on beam, having a little bit of a dip in the season. She's done a lot of gymnastics over the last couple of years, the Olympics, the World Championships. And you got to wonder if she needs a break. But right now, no time for a break. Her and Haley Bryant have got to do what they always do for this team, and they've got to hit big, and they will get the win. Yeah,
Aaliyah is so important to this team. Last week struggled on this. No issues tonight. That was perfectly timed.
With that Lily Peterson score of a 9.775, low score, Aaliyah Finnegan with a 9.7 or better will clinch the meet for the LSU Tigers. It's going to come down to this next pass, Allie, a 2.5 twist punch front. Keeps it in bounds. LSU is going to get the big win.
Coaches say she has to remember to keep her head neutral and not twist too early. Wow. Oh, stepped out of bounds. But I was going to say that timing looked really good to me. I think just ran a little bit too hard for it. John, I got to tell you, I still think it's going to be over a 9.7. It was beautiful, just that step out of bounds.
You took the words out of my mouth. I think it still is going to be. They may be able to take 2/10, I think, at the most. The step, if they thought it was an out of control step and going out of bounds, that's 2/10. You know, put your judge's hat on. Find me another 10th or more than a 10th off in that routine. I don't think they're going to find it.
Watch this form in the air, legs glued together. I like the height of the punch front and just that step. I think it's just going to be the deduction for that step out of bounds. I think it's going to be a 9.7, but Haley Bryant's still going after that.
I think they're going to be okay. It certainly looks like it. It's Faith Torres. She's 11th in the country right now on this event, but I don't think it's going to be mathematically possible for her to keep this Oklahoma Sooners' hopes of a win alive.
Struggled on this last week. No issues today. Faith averages a 9.9 this season. It's extra impressive that Faith is going at the very end. Hard to keep your focus at the very end of the competition. They're tired, they're nervous, there's a lot of added pressure. Very impressed with how Faith is handling this. Just the dismount, love the way that she floats into that. Oh, landed a little bit on her heels rather than in the center of her feet, but honestly, handled the pressure great, but just that slight, probably half a 10th on that dismount.
So it comes down to this. Aaliyah Finnegan, you nailed it, Allie. 9-8, and they will get the win. And they still have a gymnast to go, and she might be the best gymnast in the country. It's Haley Bryant. What a competition. This a victory lap for Haley. And I'll tell you what, there's over 13,000 fans that are going to absolutely love this.
Yeah, I'm curious if Haley knows they've got the win, but you got to imagine as an athlete, this is what you dream of. She can just go out there, no pressure, have fun, and enjoy the moment. Haley's the second gymnast in LSU history to win the all-around title.
Love this first pass, very unique. Don't see a lot of these.
It's outstanding. A front handspring, double front. Does it better than anybody else. This skill is something that most gymnasts in the entire world, even the Olympic level, cannot do. And then watch the way that she lands with so much control. That front foot does not move.
What a night in the PMAC. It was loud, it was rowdy, and it is a win for the LSU Tigers. You know, at this point of the season, you know, it's about bragging rights, certainly. You know, we talked about redemption for Oklahoma after last year or repeat for the LSU Tigers. And right now, the team that is the defending champ, they get the win. It's kind of like right now, you write down, we're #1, and you put it in Sharpie on a piece of paper. They're going to meet again at the SEC Championships. If you do it there, we'll give you a piece of cardboard and a can of spray paint. But you do it at the NCAA Championships, you throw all that away and you get a banner. But right now, it's LSU that is the best team in the country. On the floor with the Sooners, they get the win. Haley Bryant, a 9.95. What a rotation for the Tigers to finish this out. They get the win. Kaylin Chio loves it. Sierra Ballard pounding the floor. We're going to wrap things up from Baton Rouge in moments. Tiger leading the festivities here in the PMAC. After one, LSU with the lead, but then it's tied halfway through, and we're thinking, man, this is going to come. This is going to be a photo finish. Oklahoma rather takes the lead after 3, but then those floor routines from LSU, they just pull away in the end.
It was epic. I was hoping it was going to come down to the final rotation, but this competition honestly surpassed my expectations, and it was so fun. One I will definitely remember for the rest of my life.
And it's going to be painful because it got away from Oklahoma on maybe their best event, the balance beam, and that is something that they are going to have to face this week as they get back to practice. Kaylin Chio, she is your all-around champion. And